Oh, pirates, yes, they rob I, sold I to the merchant ships. Minute after they took I from the bottomless pit, but my hand was made strong by the end of the Almighty. We're forward in this generation, triumphantly, and won't you help to sing these songs of freedom, songs of freedom is all I ever had. Redemption songs. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop a time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? And some say it's just a part of it, and we've got to fulfill the book. And won't you help to sing songs of freedom, songs of freedom is all I ever had. Redemption songs, redemption songs.
Welcome everyone again to Mike Montagne on Mathematically Perfected Economy and Absolute Consensual Representation. I am Mike Montagne, 1968 to 79 architect of Mathematically Perfected Economy, founder of People for Mathematically Perfected Economy, and principal author of the present worldwide mandate for Mathematically Perfected Economy and Absolute Consensual Representation. This program pertains to my original 1968 thesis, comprising mathematic proofs that any purported economy subject to interest inevitably terminates itself under fatal artificial sums of insoluble debt, and that there is one and one only integral solution for the categoric faults of the pretended economies which have been imposed upon the world. A singular solution which, for over 35 years, we have called Mathematically Perfected Economy. Over 40 years of advocating a fact of inevitable failure and singular solution, every United States president since and including Gerald Ford has been presented a proposition of mathematically perfected economy. In 1983 and 4, I provided the Reagan administration with computer models which were and remain capable of calculating the maximum possible lifespan of any pretended economy subject to the obfuscations of what we call a central banking system. These original models, complete with source code, remain available from descended work at People for Mathematically Perfected Economy, perfectedeconomy.org. And of course, we can run the same data in these models today to replicate their vital projections. Nonetheless, then, in 1983 and 4, these original models projected from early 1980s data that the present monetary failure would transpire at approximately 2010 AD as a consequence of an obfuscation of our currency, which can only multiply artificial indebtedness in proportion to remaining capacity to service debt. As this said disparity, of course, inevitably manifests in the present failure, it is this process and its resultant injustices which we must understand if a people who make themselves capable of responsible self-rule are to avert failure by uniting over a fact of singular solution. My vastly plagiarized work, therefore, explained over 40 years ago not only how the present failure would transpire, but exactly how to solve and to avert the present consequences. Some 15 years later, in 1984, together with exhaustive documentation of this original thesis, all this comprised the first and since most plagiarized online monetary reform presence, some 10 years before the official 1993 or 4 inception of today's Internet. While this work is now perhaps the most plagiarized monetary thesis in history, even its original forms disproved every recent pretended contending proposition of solution over 40 years ago. For from its very inception, mathematically perfected economy was a proof of singular solution. That is, from its inception, mathematically perfected economy was a proof that nothing else solves the categoric faults of pretended economy, and that nothing else solves the fundamental causes of the present artificial failure. These programs apprise the people of the various countries of the world how to transform the systems of exploitation which have been imposed upon us into mathematically perfected economy. Programs are best negotiated in order as previous material develops a vital background for what follows. Links to archives of this and previous programs are available at tnsradio.com under the category Mike Montagne and through the domain perfectedeconomy.org. Respondents can sign national instances of our worldwide mandate for mathematically perfected economy and absolute consensual representation at perfectedeconomy.org. This program is broadcast regularly at 3 p.m. Pacific Time, 11 p.m. UTC, each Saturday, today on December 18, 2010, from TNS Radio, tnsradio.com. Tir Nassar, Land of the Free. Original material copyright and trademarked by Mike Montagne. All rights reserved. Just over a week ago, I was invited to participate in next Wednesday's administrative meeting for IFRI, the Icelandic Financial Reform Initiative, which is hosted both on Facebook and at the URL ifri.is. This initiative greatly deserves the immediate attention of all Icelanders because, as is about to transpire in many countries of the world, IFRI is paving the way not only to the only actual solution of Iceland's monetary collapse, but to the immediate solution, even virtually without cost, which mathematically perfected economy offers to all countries of the world. After just days before being invited to participate in next Wednesday's IFRI conference, just Wednesday morning of this week, hours before their conference that day, I was suddenly invited to participate in this Wednesday's Icelandic Financial Reform Initiative meeting, where owing to a prevailing interest in the facts and resolution of mathematically perfected economy, good people of Iceland largely yielded the floor to my offhand presentation of mathematically perfected economy and absolute consensual representation. Thus, Iceland is seriously considering taking a leading role in a global establishment of quality solution. And this engagement was to play a formative role in determining and initiating that solution, with the ostensible facts of proof of singular monetary solution predicating a central role of mathematically perfected economy. That is, if my presentation in the allotted time could sufficiently convince further administrative members of a fact of singular solution. Today, having the permission of IFRI to do so, I would like to broadcast my local recording of this meeting. First, some background. Several months ago, as a consequence of European initiatives to adopt and to proliferate mathematically perfected economy, I engaged in substantial discussions of Iceland's monetary collapse with Birgitta Jonsdottir, and later, by Birgitta's referral, with former economist Thor Sari. While these discussions raised no dispute of facts or findings in their presentation of a proof of one and one only monetary solution, I later encountered Birgitta only asserting there are multiple purported solutions to choose from. Assumably, for some reason, she had ceased to persist in engagement. She had herself failed to raise any disproof or objection to my careful presentation of a fact of singular solution. She instead referred me to discuss the matter with a former economist, and now, months later, without disproof of a fact of singular solution, she was merely asserting a purported existence of numerous solutions, as if many different processes might solve the long-standing categoric faults of pretended economy. To my challenges of her recent assertion, she offered no qualification. Over the same period in which we had conducted these discussions, nonetheless, Max Egan of Australia interviewed me, and over the course of our several-hour discussion, we mentioned what were hopeful developments with Iceland at the time, little knowing that Birgitta and assumably Mr. Sari were inclined instead to simply take a whimsical position that multiple solutions somehow exist. Yet, as we well understand from my presentation of the same material in these programs, which proposition is sufficiently covered in just the first program, there would instead be one and one only integral solution of 1. Inflation, deflation, and maldisposition, 2. Of systemic manipulation of the cost or value of money or property, and 3. Of inherent, irreversible, and therefore terminal multiplication of falsified artificial indebtedness into terminal sums of artificial debt. The latter being the fundamental cause of the present inevitable failure, itself warrants careful attention to a prospective proof of singular solution, particularly to a long-standing, unrefuted proof of singular solution to all potential monetary faults. And so, respond